All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of the Up and In Show. We're going to keep it super simple, super quick. Usually I am on the purple couch. I am in cards and culture, but coming from a different view because I have a special guest with me, Rachel Stuhlmann. Thank you so much for the time. I appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Excited to be on.
Yeah, so I can't believe I actually caught you in between trips because I feel like you're traveling all over the world. You're doing all these things. So what's been up? What are you doing right now? Like, where are you at in the world?
I know, really good timing. This is like one of the rare times I'm home for a couple weeks, and it's been really nice to be in St. Louis, still working really hard. But yeah, I'm kind of in between trips. I head to Paris at the end of the month for Rolex Paris Masters, and straight from Paris to San Antonio for the All-American Cup. And then it's Thanksgiving, and then more traveling. So yeah, it's gonna be a fun fourth quarter for me.
Yeah, I love it. Your journey is awesome. So why don't you give us, I'll do a recap kind of before the show and stuff, but let our listeners know a little bit about yourself. I like to, you know, give them my view of you and my perspective. I met you a couple months back, but why don't you give our listeners a little bit of who you are and kind of, a little bit of one-on-one about you.
Yeah, so I do a lot in the professional tennis space. I was a player. I played in college, and now I do a lot within the sport. The last like 5, 6 years, I've done everything from like media and broadcasting and writing and comms, tournament sponsorships and partnerships, marketing, sales, all this different stuff. That's been really fun. And my goal for everything this whole time has been to make the sport of tennis more mainstream and relatable and like just cool like the other sports. I always felt like it didn't get the attention and like recognition, and the players weren't really getting the recognition that they deserve. So I'm like, I feel like this is what I want to do because I see all the cool sides to the sports. I want everyone else to. So that's kind of been my journey so far.
No, I love it. And I think, I connected on that. I see that very similarly. And even the things that we do in the collectible space and the marketing, and the media stuff. I think storytelling is really important. And I think especially in niche sports, and sports that are huge, maybe not in our area or, certain people, but like to tell the story and why it's so popular, history, influencing all the things that you're doing are super cool. So I'm super excited to dive into your journey because obviously we met, back in July at Big Poppy's, celebration party and all that stuff. It was really cool. And I got to know your story over the last couple of months, but I think it would be fun to kind of unveil a little bit about what you do daily because, as your friend and somebody that's gotten to know you over the last couple of months, I think it's amazing your journey and the things that you do and how you live a daily life. And a lot of people, see the final product of a video or a picture, right? But they don't understand the hard work and all the planning and the logistics that go into all of it. So I'm excited to dive all into that. But first we got to dive back into, you were a Tiger, right? Mizzou?
That's right. Yeah,
The
I
lesser
did.
Tigers, lesser Tigers.
No, no, no.
What? No, I mean, kind of, right? Like, come on, you guys are not the LSU Tigers, but
No. Well, I think I told you I almost went to LSU. I was literally like this close to going there.
that's so
So
wild. Why didn't you? Give me a little bit about your journey. So talk to me a little bit about
yeah,
that. You're a triplet, which is pretty cool, right?
yeah.
So sports and things like that were probably big for you growing up.
Yeah, it's so funny because like I feel like a lot of people ask me, how did you get into tennis? And when my triplet brother, triplet sister, and I, when we were younger, our parents told us, they were like, pick a sport, but different than each other. So you guys aren't competing each other and you have your own thing.
That's
And
kind of
my
cool.
yeah, and my brother did ice hockey and my sister did gymnastics. And I don't know why I picked tennis because like neither of my parents played. I don't know. We were in kindergarten. But I picked it and I fell in love with it. And yeah, just stuck with it ever since. And then did the whole junior USTA stuff, got nationally ranked, and went through the whole recruiting thing and was recruited by a lot of colleges. And I took an official to LSU. And I think I told you that during my official visit, they took me to an LSU versus Florida Gators football game, and it was Tim Tebow was the quarterback at the time.
Yep.
So the whole thing, like, it was crazy, and I was like, oh my gosh, this place is so cool. Like, I think it was my first time like going out like at a
Yeah,
club,
yeah.
and I remember that place being so cool. But in the
We
end,
didn't get you.
Right. Well, in the end, I feel like, even though I travel so much, I am a homebody and I liked, being close to all my family members that went to Mizzou. It just felt right. I was this close stuff.
That's wild. That would have been crazy. Would we have, so what was your, I think we talked about this, right? We wouldn't have been in school together, right?
I think we might have crossed 1 year. Like I was 10 to
Oh
I
yeah, that's
think
right. Yeah.
14. Yeah.
Okay,
So
so then
maybe
yeah,
one or
2010. Yeah.
yeah.
Nice. That's so wild. That would have been crazy, but I love hearing that. And so how far was Mizzou from where you grew up?
So Mizzou's right in between, it's in Columbia, Missouri, right in between St. Louis and Kansas City. So it's about an hour and a half drive. It's really,
Nice.
yeah, good distance.
That's
So
pretty solid. So you've been playing since you were in kindergarten. You were a 10, you like it's literally been since you were 5 years old. You had a racket in your hand.
yeah, literally.
That's
It's
so
been
cool.
a long time coming, yeah. But another cool thing about when I was in college was I had 2 years in the Big 12 and 2 years in the SEC without
Mm,
trading schools. Um, because we made that conference switch. And so that was kind of a unique experience for me. I got to travel to all the schools in each conferences without switching schools.
that is pretty badass. That's a cool. I
Mhm.
didn't even think about that perspective. So yeah,
Oh
so your first 2 years you were traveling in certain schools, and the next 2 years, what do you think was the biggest difference?
my gosh, I mean, it was night and day, to be honest. Like SEC versus Big 12, not
Really?
only in competition, but like in everything else. Like I always kind of use the example for Big 12. You know how you get like a gift every year from the
Yeah.
conference? From Big 12, I think it was like a blanket. And then like for SEC, like you could pick through like, and Michael Kors was big at the time, like a Michael Kors bag of Beats headphones and like things like that. So just like things like that, it's SEC money. It was just different. And
Exactly.
it was a great experience for sure.
Wow, that's pretty cool. What was your favorite place to play at? Did you ever come to LSU and play?
Yes.
Let's
That,
go.
and yeah, and I had some wins there. I was really
Did you?
happy.
Good. All right. I
Place.
won't I won't hold that against you. That's good. No, that's good.
No, but there were so many. I always think that there were three places that come to mind that were really special to play at. And for me, I had the biggest wins of my career at Georgia. And they also just started this thing called College Match Day my senior year there. And that was when they picked, it was just like college game day football, but they wanted to do it for tennis. They picked to feature 10 matches during the entire year. And one of them was Georgia versus Mizzou at Georgia my senior year. And that was just a really cool experience. And the year before that, or 2 years before that, I had the biggest win of my career there. And so Georgia's special to me.
Nice.
I made the, I think it was the ITA All American tournament in UCLA my sophomore year. And that was just, I mean, UCLA blew me away. It was like one of my first times in LA. I
Yeah.
thought it was the coolest thing ever. The courts were so nice.
Yeah.
His sister was the coach of UCLA, and it was just like a cool experience. And then the last one that really kind of stood out for me was going to Notre Dame. And I don't know what it
Nice.
was about that campus, like whether it was a movie or just seeing the big
Yeah.
mural and all that. It was just I've been to so many schools, but those three definitely stuck out for me.
That's really cool. I wonder if the Notre Dame, you said I mean, we don't have to dive into crazy, but like I feel like there's a big like Catholic tradition there, right? So like I know a little bit about you, like so maybe that had some resonation with it too.
No, you're spot on with that.
Yeah, that's cool. No, that's a good experience. I've always wanted, I was born and raised, like I might practice differently now, but I still was born and raised that way. So I think it would be a super cool trip for me to, I still like on my bucket list for sure. So that's cool to hear.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, like Rome is like one of the place I want to go
Favorite.
most. So
Me
for
too.
different reasons, that's cool.
Nice. Same number ones on the bucket list. That's cool.
Yeah.
Um, Good stuff. Well, so talk to me. So you play 4 years and you were highly touted, obviously going into school. So obviously that gave you some recognition in the tennis world, right? But how does is there professional tennis? How does that work for you? Did you go there next? Is it, in baseball, there's a draft. It's like a pretty process. Talk to me a little bit about the tennis world and what you guys do afterwards.
Yeah, tennis is definitely a different route than the team sports like NFL and MLB and everything where you get drafted. You kind of decide on your own as a player if you even want to go to college. You can skip the college route. They don't have that 1 year like basketball,
Right.
or I don't know how many it is for baseball or whatever. But so for players, a lot of the time, like back in the day, was just you just go pro. You don't
Right.
even go to school. But like lately, in the past few years, more players have been going the route of doing college tennis to use it kind of as a stepping stone into their professional career. And it started to kind of like prove to be successful. And that's for like, many different reasons. The competition is getting better, and if you get a full ride scholarship, which there are many in tennis, especially for women, you can get that really, really good competition. You get free equipment, free coaching,
Exactly. Yeah.
and you basically get that. Chances are you probably went to a good college, like if it's in the SEC or something, you'll be
Yeah.
playing top players, getting that high level experience. So yeah, players have started kind of taking that route of going to college first and then going to the tour, which has been really cool to see, especially lately. There at the U.S. Open, there was, I think, a few dozen of college players that were in it.
That's
So it's
cool.
cool. Yeah.
So what was your story when you left? Did you have an option to go play? Was it something like, I want to dive into the media world, like
Yeah.
what were your options after you were done?
Yeah, I think for me, my goal was I always wanted to play professional tennis. It was like a dream of mine since I
Yeah.
was a little kid. And it was just kind of after college, I had to kind of make the decision. Am I really going to go through this grind, find a coach, find some people to, hopefully invest in me and my professional journey? And at the end of the day, I was kind of just like, I want a paycheck now, and I want to, go into the sport and still make a difference, whatever that would be. I think back then I didn't really know what I was going to do. So I played a couple little 10Ks, but I kind of I took the highest paying coaching job at the time. So I was
Nice.
offered jobs from, different colleges, different country clubs, tennis academies. And at the time, the highest paying coaching job took me to Sun Valley, Idaho, at this like super, super, super nice country club. I went
Stop.
out, yeah, and I went out there for 10 months, and I coached and met some really amazing people. And I think that was a good, learning experience for me and a stepping stone for myself. At that time, I started a website. I wanted to get my ideas out there. I started writing articles and just, kind of started that as well. So good experience.
No, that's amazing. I love hearing that. Um, so in tennis, is it so I'm familiar with a couple sports, right? Like golf and beach volleyball and stuff. You hire your own coaches, you pick, at your whole team, right? Like, and you have to hire them basically. It's a whole operation, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
That's so crazy. So you were like, all right, you didn't want to go that route. You were like, I want to go more of the sure route and get some money right away and just dip into that world. I love that. And
Yeah,
then Idaho is where you ended up.
I know.
Is that far from Missouri? I'm like
Oh, yeah,
Midwest. I'm like illiterate. I have no idea.
it's really far.
I
That
got
place is like super hard to get to. Like, you gotta go to Boise, and then like it's either a 3 hour drive, or you gotta get another flight to Sun Valley, their little small airport. But
damn.
um,
Pretty,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, and you're right. Like it is, you gotta kind of form your own team.
right.
You gotta get a coach, a therapist.
Trainers, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's so crazy. Yeah, that blows my mind. It's one of the things too, though, like on the media side, Cards and Culture, our company, we have Culture Media, and that's one of the things that I've really been intrigued with is trying to find individuals that play sports like that need content, for their brands and their partnerships and things like that, and get paid off of that stuff. So it's like it's hella interesting to me to hear how they and also coming from a team sport world, right? Like where they do everything for you. I'm like, wait, you had to do all this stuff? I would have been so incompetent. So it's like I always tip my cap to the people that can like pull that stuff off.
Well, and then I always think kind of like the other way around. Like, I can't imagine playing a team sport because like I can't imagine depending on other people for your own result. Like, what if the guy doesn't, I don't know, for your instance, like throw you the ball well, and then it makes you look bad, or if they don't, like, I don't know if I could do
That's
it.
no, that's a great perspective. I've never even thought about that. It's so normal for me. And it's like we're taught at a young age, right? To be like not get mad at your teammates. It's part of the
Right.
game because you're gonna mess up, right? It's like, but when you guys are out there by yourself, it's like you can't even fathom that.
Yeah, it is, and that's kind of the beauty of tennis, though. It's like you're out there on your own. You have to make, you know, there's not coaching. They just started kind of putting coaching into the game, but there's not coaching. There's you're out on your own. You make your own decisions. You got to remember the game plans you and coach talked about, and it is kind of an individual thing. That's what I really did like about it, though.
Yeah, that's cool. I didn't even think about that perspective too, of like being like, I can't imagine playing a team sport. What if that
I
guy
know.
fucks up?
I'd be so mad at my teammates. I feel
Yeah.
like I don't know.
I think it's like ingrained in like that's natural, but it's like you can't get mad at them because like I'm throwing balls all over the place sometimes too. It's like it's part of it. Oh
But
man, that's
like in
funny.
college, like we were on a team, and you were more like playing for your teammates,
Exactly.
which did make that special for
Yeah,
sure.
that's a good perspective. Yeah, that's cool. Well, good. All right. So Idaho, right? I always like to know. Again, I met you at this phase in your life, but that was clearly a different season, a different phase, right? So, was there somebody in your life out in Idaho, somebody that maybe was monumental, maybe a mentor, somebody? I always like to ask of like and give people tools and like success stories of like, yeah, this person really helped me. I was scared to ask them questions, but then they boom, you know?
Yeah, and it's so funny because you know, I've gotten asked a few times, how did you get to where you are? And I'm like, honestly, like it's such an unconventional route. Like I couldn't recommend anything to you. It's just sticking to kind of your goals and everything. And for me, it was kind of always the people that I met along the way. So when I was in Sun Valley, there was a he was a huge Grand Slam champion, Matt Wielander. He happened to have a house out there, and he did this cool program Wielander on Wheels, where he would travel to cities with his associate, and they would put on these clinics. And so they were practicing one day. I met his associate and just became friends with him, kept in touch with him, and then you know I left the club and came back home. And then a few months went by, and then the guy I met out in Sun Valley was like, well, you're going to the US Open, right? And I was like, yeah, I'm going. He's like, I think you need to meet with this guy, Randy. And I think that you're perfect for them. It's this kind of opportunity for, it was with Tennis One, which was you know, an app that showed all live scores and everything. And so I met with Randy, and then that's how I kind of got into Tennis One. So it's just little connections
Yeah.
along the way that always kind of led me to my next step. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of special people in the industry and people along the way that I've met. But yeah, that's kind of, I'm not like, oh, I get this job and then this job and then this job. It's more like it's always just kind of happened. And I've always said yes to any opportunity that's made sense to me, even if I really didn't know what I was doing. You know, you just kind of do it, and then you learn, and then you keep getting better at it and keep getting better at it. And you look at people like when they Tennis One was like, you know, you're going to do some post-match interviews. I was always used to getting interviewed.
Right.
So it was new to me. So I would watch ESPN and Carrie Champion, the you know, women that I liked, and the you know, interviews that I liked. I tried to kind of add that to how I was when I did it, and that always kind of helped.
No, I love that story, and I'm so happy. I feel like you use the word unconventional, because if you go like to our bio and like for the podcast, it's like it says something about unconventional approaches, because I think I find people that, you know, have done unique things, and in 2022 being an influencer, right, is a job 10 years ago that didn't exist. So I think it's really cool to be like to show people, and it's also a job that I think a lot of people either aspire to have or think it's this great creation and like it's this easiest or best lifestyle, right? But it's little things like going and taking a job in Idaho and meeting somebody and staying in touch and networking and taking the risks and the events and going places and putting yourself out there and networking, right? That open up doors and possibilities for you. And I gave a talk to an entrepreneur class last week at LSU, and one of the questions is like, okay, if you were sitting in these seats, you know, what would you do if you were us? And that's what I always say. I'm like, go out there, put yourself out there, just literally lean over to the person next to you. Hey, what's your name? What are you doing here? You know, like, what are you looking to do in life? And getting to know, you know, people and building that skill set and that network and stuff. So that's where I think those little stories are hella important, I think, to like even my podcast and the people that listen to it, because it's a lot of younger kids and younger athletes, college kids that are like, have this idea of things and they think, you know, that they can get there super easy. And it's cool to hear like different stories and how people got there. So thanks for
No,
sharing.
No, of course. I think you're exactly right too. Like for what I'm doing, there's never been a playbook, and I'm sure it's kind of the same for you. And so that's something that, I've just kind of had to discover and make my own kind of path here. And there have been a lot of challenges, but in the end, it's definitely been worth it and been really fun.
Uh,
So
I love that. We'll wrap up here. Probably, damn, it's flying by, but probably like 10 minutes, 15 minutes more if you got some time. But um,
yeah.
so talk to me a little bit about how that turns into like where you're at now, right? Like, so that probably had to have been, if I'm doing the math right, you were probably like early 20s at that stage in Idaho, right? And now, that's 5, 10 years, 5 years ish later. So how do you develop into who you are now when somebody lands on your Instagram page and the things that you're doing, in today's world?
Yeah, so I feel like this past year I've really kind of um, embraced kind of who I am in this industry. I feel like maybe years ago I was a little bit more, afraid to really be myself in an industry that's been like super traditional and, buttoned up.
Conservative, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so, this past year, I'm like, you know what? Like, I myself, I've done so much in this industry. I'm just going to be who I am, and I want to keep bringing people to the sport in a positive way. And so, for me, that earlier this year, I had a social media manager that kind of helped me build my brand and talked kind of me through it and who I am and what I want to do. And so I really kind of started focusing on content and creating content. And I love traveling to the tennis tournaments, whether for work or on my own. And I was like, these tournaments, they're all so beautiful, so special. They all have their own personalities. I'm gonna start highlighting them and just like, because everyone needs to see that. Like Montreal Open, it's beautiful, and like Sofia, Bulgaria, like it's such a cool city. Like I never would have known about it unless there was a tournament there. So I'm like, I want to kind of feature these like tournaments and share the beauty of tennis around the world, through my accounts. And so that's kind of something that I've really focused on this past year, and it's been really fun.
No, I think you do a great job of it too. Like not only, somebody who met you and heard about your journey and then now has followed it. I've followed along like everybody else, and it's fun to watch that stuff because it's the same thing. It's a perspective that I wouldn't have had or seen, right, if I wasn't following you or if you weren't making the connection. And that's what I think the beauty is about sports and now even content and technology, right? We can show how cultures are shaped by different sports, and us in America connect. Where did you say Bulgaria?
Yeah,
Yeah, like
Sophie.
it's what I'm saying? Like tennis is that connection point between these two countries. And it's like I would have never known anything about, I would have never watched somebody's Instagram video from Bulgaria if you didn't post about it, right? And it's like this cool connection point. So that's why like the number one influencer thing that you have, the label, is super cool to me because I think you're not only influencing sport, but you're also almost like a reporter and like giving news and perspective into people here that maybe would never even see that kind of stuff.
Thank you. Yeah, that's definitely been the goal.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, tennis is it's so special. And like you were saying, I'm certain I wouldn't have been, three-fourths, if not all of the places I've traveled to if
Yeah.
it wasn't for the sport.
Right.
And tennis is so special that every single week, besides a couple weeks in November and December, there's a tournament somewhere around the world. There's actually multiple professional tournaments somewhere around the world, and they're all in, very well done, and they're all in really cool cities. And I think that's also what makes the sport pretty special. It's global and it's all year round.
Yeah.
So
Well, I love it. I want you to keep doing it. It's great. I love the barriers that you're kind of crossing and blending and doing different things. I think you're doing it in a extremely classy and tasteful way, and I think you do a great job of giving the information to the people that are looking for it. So keep up the great work, and why don't you give us a little insight of what your any projects, anything that you can talk about? I don't know. I know you got a lot of things in the work, but maybe give some things that people can look forward to and maybe would want to follow you, and join your journey.
yeah, definitely. Well, I am going to Paris at the end of the month, so I know I'll have some really cool content with that. And then the San Antonio event is actually going to be so cool. It's the first time that this tournament has ever happened, so super excited. And then a long-term project for me has been the tennis tournament in St. Louis. I'm going to keep talking about it so I can bring it to
Into
life.
existence.
Uh,
Yes, let's
but
go.
yeah, so that'll be super fun. And yeah, I'm on Instagram, I'm sure we'll have it out there, but it's
Yeah.
R Stuhlmann, and yes, so
And
I'm
on
really
TikTok
excited.
too, right? I like your content on TikTok. I think you're doing a good job there too. So is it the same thing?
Yeah, it's actually Rachel Stuhlmann on TikTok, and
Okay.
I post more of me playing tennis. Someone
Nice.
commented on my Instagram today. They're like, "Why don't you post playing tennis?" I'm like, "It's on my TikTok, so you can go on that."
Nice. Very
Yeah.
cool. Well, one of these days I might contact you about maybe doing a piece for Cards and Culture Media too, like where, you know, I contract you out or something, as long as you don't make me break the bank and all that. But I think it would be cool to cover one of those cool, like, you know what I'm saying? Just give some people some insight and we can put it on our YouTube. And now that you've been on the podcast, people will know who you are a little bit. That would be super cool. So I would love to explore that with you.
I would love to hear about it. That sounds
Yeah.
so fun.
Good stuff. Well, Rachel, thank you so much for the time. I know you got a lot of stuff going on, so go keep being a rock star. And I'll make sure I put everything in the show notes to find you. But again, thank you so much for coming on and being willing to tell us a little bit about your story. Appreciate you.
Thanks so much. I had so much fun.
Yeah, great job.